All
right, I will let them in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Gus, thanks for being with us today. Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you, Ragda. I see your note. Okay, we are right at 5:31. Welcome everyone to the Human Rights Commission for the City of Palm Springs, Monday, July 12th, 2021. We will get underway. First up is the call to order. And as Jay does a roll call, I want to welcome our new commissioners that are joining us. So we've got the new class of 2021-22 commissioners coming on board. And as we get underway, we're going to have you introduce yourself so we all can start to get to know who you are. All right, Jay, can you handle roll call for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Andrade. Okay, I do not see Terry yet. Commissioner Cleary. New Commissioner Cleary, okay. Commissioner Flood.
Present.
Commissioner Loyola.
Present.
Commissioner Ramaran.
Present.
Commissioner Robles.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Shepard.
Present.
Commissioner Vignolo.
Present.
And Chair DeHart.
And I am present also. Excellent. Welcome again. And did you call Student Representative Cash?
I did not. Student Representative Cash.
Present.
Thank you, Ellen. And Student Representative Lily Hanner.
I don't see Lily, so I think we're missing Lily. How about Commissioner Ramaran? You want to read item 3, just the mission statement for us? Just the first sentence, please.
Yes. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness. Thank
you, sir. And we normally, from time to time, will read out our community goals, or our goals, just so we could restate them for ourselves, but for the awareness of any public members of the public that might be attending and listening. So Hugo, could I have you read the first 4 bullets? Just the first 4 bullets. Commissioner Loyola, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. All right, so here are the first 4 Human Rights Commission goals: to develop community education programs, to investigate and mediate instances of discrimination of groups or individuals, to bring persons and groups together in common support of human rights issues, to acquire the fiscal and human resources necessary to support and accomplish the work of the Commission.
Excellent. Commissioner Robles, can I have you read the next 2 bullets?
Sure thing. To provide management and coordination for the Commission, to promote diversity through the appointment of candidates to all city boards and commissions to proportionately reflect the diversity of the population of the city of Palm Springs.
And Commissioner Vignola, you didn't think you were going to miss out on this, did you?
No, that's fine.
If you could do the last 2 for us.
Sure. The commission and each committee shall develop goals and objectives annually for adoption by the commission. And lastly, the commission shall work closely with the mayor, city council, and city cabinet, and with all other city commissions and boards in joint endeavors that support the commission's mission statement and city's goals and objectives.
Thank you. Now, clearly, we didn't scare all the new commissioners off with those goals or the mission. It's sometimes seems like it's overwhelming, and we'll take the time in the months ahead to have orientation and bring you up to speed and answer any questions that you might have of the daily workings of the commission. So hopefully you can start off with a good feeling of knowing what your job is all about. So thank you again and welcome once more. Jay, we have a quorum of commissioners, correct?
That is correct. And Commissioner Andrade is joining the meeting.
Oh, excellent. So next up is item 5 on the agenda, public comments. This time, we do have a couple. So this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Human Rights Commission on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. 3 minutes is allowed for each speaker. Although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. Jay, do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments requested.
I see in the chat though, let me, Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, sir. Yes, Commissioner.
You have 3 minutes for public comment.
I just wanted to find out what the commission and the city council is going to be doing in reference to homelessness issues in the community. I'm quite concerned. I live in the tennis club area and I get pings constantly on my Ring doorbell system. One was indecent exposure last night, and a guy was caught actually masturbating in front of somebody's window. And the number of homeless people seems to be out of control. I mean, I reported to the police department last night. Before this, there was a guy talking to himself sitting on the Chase Manhattan Bank sign at the corner of Ramon and Palm Canyon. I'm terribly concerned. I mean, I went to dinner last night with my family at the Hotel Rowan, and there was a homeless person that was actually washing themselves off in the hotel fountain while we were eating dinner. And you know, it's a resort community. I mean, I'm really concerned about it. When I contacted the police, I said, don't you have cooling centers like other cities? They said, no, the closest one is in India. I realized that it's not wholly like just the Human Rights Commission job, but as a community member and as somebody who wants to get involved in the community, I really would like to go as far as possible to try and solve the problems that the community is facing. And if you could direct me to somebody, either a city staff person or how I could get involved to try to help it, I would really appreciate it, because I think it's in everyone's interest to try and help these people. These aren't people like you'd find in LA where, you know, they're genuinely homeless. A lot of them really have mental health issues. I mean, you can tell. I mean, they're sitting around talking to themselves. Another one was ripping flowers out of planter beds along Palm Canyon. I mean, I don't know. Those were my comments, and I wanted to see if there's some place you can direct me. And thank you for letting me speak.
Excellent. We appreciate your comments. That is a very important issue in the city. Next up for public comment, I see Renee Brown is with us today. Renee?
I am. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a little concerned. I work downtown, as a lot of people work downtown, and it's really hot. And employees are relegated to parking at the very far side of the underground parking close to the museum. And that actually, and it's about 50 spaces. So every day I walk by hundreds of empty spaces, and employees are not allowed to park there. Now, actually, if you park anywhere else in town, you have to come out, move your car at 3 o'clock or move your car every 4 hours if you're in the underground parking facilities. I was walking with two little gals who both are maids at the Rowan. And as I was walking with them, I thought, you know, there's something really wrong with this picture when you have hundreds of empty parking spaces and the people who actually serve and work downtown are relegated to a certain amount of parking spaces. You know, I could see if the city were to maybe give employees parking permits. You know, I worry about the people who work in the bars too. You know, what do? Come out at 2 in the morning and walk into those parking? You know, it's just not a good way to do it. And it's actually very discriminatory against the working class. And, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And thank you for listening.
Excellent. We appreciate it. Thanks for being with us. I think unless Jay, you see any other public comment, I think that takes care of it for today. Yes?
I believe that's it, Mr. Chair.
All right, excellent. We'll move on to item 6. Not with us tonight is our vice chair whose term ended last month. She's actually in Hawaii. Good for her. But she termed out after serving 6 years on the commission, and her service to the city and her service to the commission was much appreciated. She is, and she brought a sense of balance to the commission during her service. Just her calming nature was certainly something that served us well, and just her ability to and desire to jump in and be involved in anything that we were doing in the community was just admirable. So we will certainly miss the Vice Chair Chappelle and wish her well on her next endeavors. Aloha to Denise if you're watching. Next item, recognition. Our student representative, Ella Cash, is going to share with us the recognition for the month of July.
July 30th is the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Trafficking in persons is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of the threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, deception, the abuse of power or of a position of vulnerability, or of the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person for the purpose of exploitation. Exploitation shall include, at a minimum, the exploitation of the prostitution of others or other forms of sexual exploitation, forced labor or services, slavery or practices similar to slavery, servitude, or the removal of organs.
So it sounds like this could be a problem that happens in other places, but it really happens all over the world, and it happens across the country here in the United States. In cities across the country. So we asked Lieutenant Araza to be with us today just to share with us what is happening in our area, and how is the police department addressing this very important issue.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, great. All right, thanks. I lost focus of where my mute button was, but thank you for inviting me to speak to you in honor of World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, which is being observed on Friday, July 30th. As Ron mentioned, my name's Gustavo Reyes. I'm a lieutenant here with the police department, and law enforcement's role is key in identifying and investigating allegations of human trafficking. Identification can be a challenge for our personnel if they're not trained to analyze behavior that long existed as its own crime type. Incidents of prostitution, domestic violence, or an assault could be masked as a darker issue. It's not uncommon for human trafficking victims to present as offenders when law enforcement becomes involved. Through awareness and training, we're constantly improving at identifying those scenarios so that we can listen and learn from our survivor as soon as possible. When it comes to activity indicative of this type of offense, your department relies heavily on the assistance, experience, and resources held by the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, also known as RCAT. During the course of 2020, the team fielded 2 complaints in the city of Palm Springs. These investigations that were conducted by the team led to the identification of 2 different massage parlors where the victims were allegedly forced into sexual servitude to pay off debt. One of the investigations was at a location off of Ramon and El Cielo, and the other operation was Ramon and Williams Road. And each operation resulted in 2 arrests. Between January 24th and January 28th of this year, the RCAT task force was involved in an operation called Operation Reclaim and Rebuild, something similar to what they did the year prior on a multi-state operation. In this one, the operation included participation from multiple agencies in 6 county cities, 2 of which were here in the Coachella Valley. And the operation resulted in the arrest of 61 males and 1 female for solicitation of prostitution. Additionally, the team identified 2 females that were believed to be the victims of sex trafficking. I've had the opportunity to speak with one of the supervisors on the task force, and he mentioned he has noticed an uptick in suspicious activity being reported now that the pandemic restrictions have ended. Based on our discussion, it was our impression that restrictions on social activities did not provide many opportunities to identify suspicious activity consistent with this egregious crime. Although we rely on the assistance of specialized teams with these types of investigations, our staff will do what they can to resolve information as soon as they can get it. And this was exampled by an incident that occurred on Wednesday, June 30th of 2021, so not more than 2 weeks ago. On that day, our dispatch office got a phone call about 8:40 in the evening. This was a call specifically from a resident in Palm Springs who was reporting that her nephew had made arrangements with another subject to get transported across the Mexican border and into the city of Palm Springs. The nephew was communicating with his local family here in Palm Springs via a texting app and was being held against his will at an unknown location in the city of Santa Ana. Our officers were able to develop information in this investigation, and we were led to believe that this victim was going to be forced into labor servitude to pay off his debt. The victim was provided instructions how to identify his location and share it via the app, and that the victim shared that with our officer, and Santa Ana was basically called to a location where this victim was potentially at. And through communicating with our officer communicated with with the victim over the phone, and was able to get that victim to turn on and off the light to the room he was in, and they were subsequently able to locate him and rescue him. But one of the things about this is awareness. That's one of the first steps to understanding. So I want to thank everybody in here for giving me the opportunity to share my perspective.
Excellent. I appreciate that brief. Does anybody have any questions for the lieutenant while we've got him with us? Now, Gus, this isn't part of what I asked you to brief me on, but since you and I didn't communicate on the hate crime incident,
yeah.
Do you have that information that you could share with us?
No, fortunately, I'm sure everybody's heard of the hate crime that occurred, or the alleged hate crime that occurred over the weekend, and we don't have any information right now that would lead us to believe that was a hate crime. So we're still actively investigating that. But in anticipation that you would pose a question, Ron, I did look at last month, and there was nothing that was reported, nothing to share with the group.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item 8, the approval of minutes for June 14, 2021. So all commissioners who were present for that meeting, if you don't see any corrections or edits that you would like to make, I will call for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion, Chair.
First by Commissioner Flood.
I'll second.
And a second by Commissioner Andrade. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented for June 14, please signify with a thumbs up or an aye.
Aye.
All right, we've got a unanimous there, Jane. Thank you all. Item 9, you see on your agenda, we're going to table that until a further meeting that we don't know which date, but it will be something that we'll bring back to the table down the road. And item 10, we have a special guest with us once again. Look how fortunate we are to be able to have the city manager with us so frequently since his arrival in town. Justin, I think you're beating the 2 or 3 record from our former city manager in attendance. So we appreciate you being with us again and sharing an update on the Social Justice Committee. That's what we had invited Justin Clifton to come to the meeting and just give us an update on where that sits.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Happy to join you again. Nice to see some familiar faces. And again, thank you for all the work that you do. So as of the city council meeting on June 24th, city council did make formal appointments to the new Equity and Social Justice Committee. So to let you know, we have brand new committee members, including Jenna Adorno, Ubaldo Boido, Cynthia Session, John Goins, Angelina Love, and Regina King. And then, as you know, this committee also includes 2 human rights commissioners, Edwin Ramaram and Donna Shepard. So we've got a good group. Looking forward to getting started. Part of the staff report submitted to council contemplated use of a trained facilitator, both because we'd like to bring in somebody with specialized expertise in the area of equity and social justice, and also want to make sure that as this committee was established, it was actually originally intended to be kind of a condensed 9-month timeframe, which in my opinion is probably only sufficient to kind of generate a list of topics, but knowing that there'll be interest to kind of dig into some of those topics and at least advance recommendations to council about exactly what to do with some of those topic areas, thought it would be important to have somebody that's also trained in the area of strategic planning, group discussion, facilitation, and decision-making to be really expeditious and efficient with that limited time. And frankly, also advise council to be open to the idea that it might just take longer than 9 months. So I think our city clerk sent out an email today to the committee members to kind of set the stage that we're at the point now of looking for that facilitator and looking forward to scheduling our first meeting, hopefully as early as September. I've gotten a handful of names of facilitators. Thank you very much, Chair DeHart, for helping submit some good ideas. So we're working on that process. And if anybody else knows of somebody in that space that's qualified to lead such a group and to facilitate the conversation, I'm certainly open to other suggestions. But that's really where we're at. We're looking forward to getting started. The last component piece of that is the first task at hand for the committee will really be to promulgate a list, if you will, or areas of interest. Advance that back to city council so city council can kind of weigh in. It could be to clarify priorities from council's perspective, or to set certain parameters for certain topic areas, to direct certain investigation or research or whatever it is. I think that's a mechanism we'll start to lean on more and more to just keep a really strong connection between our committees, commissions, task forces, and the full body of council to make sure that we're all kind of really jiving in synergy. So looking forward to getting that started.
Hey, Justin, on the thank you for the update. I think it was really important, and it's something that's been riding with us for some time. But what I really liked is one of the last comments you said about the new committee moving forward and coming up with a slate of goals or objectives that would then float back to city council. Are they being given just an open slate and say, come up with that list of suggested areas of interest, and or are they getting some guidance that narrows that focus?
Right now, there's no planned guidance. I think that's really the intent of bringing something back up to council. So let's first let this committee kind of without any real parameters discuss what they see as major areas of interest. Again, the idea of also having a trained facilitator is to help kind of navigate perhaps some unfamiliar territory, some topic areas that may be well known by some of the committee members, but maybe not by all. But then to ultimately advance that to council with some notes. Here's why we think the following things are important, and let council weigh in so that before something becomes fully baked, as they say sometimes, there's an opportunity to have an exchange and to evaluate priorities. This is in part a lesson I think that I learned early on, even with the work of this commission and the Bogart statute and Section 14 apology and things like that, is we've created a lot of inputs, and council can sometimes be the bottleneck, not because they want to be, but because there's one council and there's lots of committees and commissions and other systems. So at very least, what we can do is help prioritize. So if the council really thinks one of those topics is essential or timely and others can come after, that the committee has the benefit of that insight and direction and can respond accordingly.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Any other questions for our city manager while we have him online?
I have one other update if I can. I don't know if it's totally clear, but at the end of the council meeting, we also discussed we had been shooting for a July time period to follow up on the Bogert statute in section 14 apology and just couldn't find a date. So I apologize about that. There was also growing concern that as we get closer and closer to August, that we're getting into a time period where people like to take vacations. So and that includes some of our hardworking city council members. And that's where some of the conflict is coming in. So we are now targeting a September date and trying to circle that in right now so that we're well ahead and can avoid schedules and calendars getting full. So I think we're pretty close to identifying that date and we'll follow up soon.
Okay, thank you. That's good news to hear. If there's no other questions, thank you, Justin Clifton. We appreciate you being with us again. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Next up, we're moving right through our agenda today. Item 11 is the opportunity for us to update all of commissioners and our student representatives on the work that is being done through any of the committees. We aren't going to read through every single committee line item, but if there's a committee that has an update, we will invite those updates at this time. And first on the list is item A coming out of the executive committee. And the key item that we need to look at, and we're not going to address it today, but it's something for our new commissioners to pay particular attention to pages 9 through 14, I believe, in today's packet that define the standing committees. So, you know, get your feelers in there and see if any of those standing committees are of interest to you. And then in our next meeting, we will just solicit interest and appoint folks to each of our standing committees, and any of our current commissioners who are on a standing committee, if they would like to switch around, that will all happen at our September meeting. The one we do need to address today is the executive committee has a rotating commissioner that serves on the executive committee in addition to the chair and the vice chair. It's once a quarter. We rotate the position out so other commissioners are able to learn about the workings of the executive committee and just gain a broader understanding of the workings of the commission overall. Commissioner Shepard has served on the last quarter of the executive committee. So we are open for a new commissioner to serve on the committee for the next quarter. Do we have any interest from anybody who would like to serve on that executive committee? And what it means is there is one more meeting. We've tried to do it the week or so prior to an upcoming regular commission meeting. If we don't
Chairman, I'm very new, but I would absolutely love to take on that.
Okay, excellent. I'm seeing there's not a huge influx of people that are interested to do it. So Commissioner Loyola, it is your position. We will follow up with you and let you know when that first meeting will be, but you'll be on for the next quarter. Okay.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Let's see.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So, who's the vice chair is on that executive committee?
we're going to decide that at the end of today's meeting.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay. Good observation. The item 11AA is something that we brought up, and out of the work we did on the Section 14 and the Frank Bogart statute, there were a number of comments and references made to, well, how could the city be ranking at such a high level at 100% with the Human Rights Campaign Municipality Index if we're doing this, I've continued to think about it, and the question I brought up was, well, why isn't the commission involved with that survey that the Human Rights Commission sends out, and every city who wants to participate sends the information back. For some reason, the Human Rights Commission has not been involved since the city started, submitting the survey. And I did preliminary questioning with the city manager to see, who is doing this, who is filling out that municipality index. And it's something that does come out of under the city manager's guidance from the human resources area within City Hall. So unless we see any opposition from the commission, we will reinstate a request to the city manager that when it comes up again, the timing comes up again to complete that survey, that we're invited to participate. And what that means, we don't know, but maybe one commissioner could work with the director of human resources or whoever is in charge of it. And then we at least could be reporting back to the commission and sharing our input on some of the answers. I see heads shaking up and down if no opposition. I see that we're good, so I will carry that forward and request that of the city manager, and then that's something that we can report back on through next year. Okay, now's the time for updates from any of our other committees, with exception of actually they're all Commissioner Ramaran's in item B. So everything else in item A. If any of our subcommittees have updates, just raise your hand or indicate that you want to give an update. And if I don't see any, so I'm going to call on Ella to ask for, what do you think the next step should be as we go into a new school year for getting the word out for student representation on the commission? Is there any, have you given any thought to what we can do, or avenues that we can have outreach?
I have, and there wasn't much I was getting from my counselor when I was bringing it up to her, and I did post about it on my personal social media, but that doesn't have much, exposure in terms of the entire valley and all the students. So I might be able to speak with my counselor again, and maybe Miss Hunt, Janelle Hunt, since she was at some of our meetings a few months ago, to see if she could spread the word about recruiting students. So I guess talking to some of the higher up, like school personnel, I suppose, would be the best way to do it, because just me advocating for it was not getting much of a response.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you for keeping that top of mind, and let's continue to look at avenues and maybe even who are those people in administration that we should be connecting with. So if you want to investigate that a little bit when the new vice chair comes on, that could be something that the two of you or the three of you with Lily might be able to work on. Okay. All right. Any other updates from committees outside of Commissioner Ramaran's? All right,
Mr. Chair, can I make one On the Desert Highland and Gateway States Community Association.
Yep.
Just want to mention on Saturday, June 19th, I attended a picnic that the association had for June 10th. And it was a big turnout for that. And also, it was at James O. Jesse Park, of course. Met the city council representative, Grace Garner was there. So we had a brief discussion about the whole event. And I just wanted to mention that it was pretty good. That's all.
Excellent. Excellent. Did you wear your salmon colored shirt?
No, but I did wear my name tag. So,
All right.
so they knew who I was representing.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Shepherd.
Commissioner Flood, I would like to schedule a phone call with you to talk about our involvement in Desert Highland Gateway, and if there's more that needs to be done or whatever, since my name is on that commission. And unfortunately, I don't have contact information in my fine electronic filing system here. So how do I get his contact information? And also, Terry, I think you're on that group too. So I'd love to do a call with you guys and kind of see where we are as commissioners on that, if that works for you.
Yep, excellent. And and actually, this is a perfect time for that request. And Jay, can we get a new roster now that we've got a full house of commissioners on? Update our old roster and send it out to everybody so they've got that information.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, beautiful.
I'm sure I have a roster. I've just filed it too well.
Yeah, and I don't think we've passed it out for quite some time. So
okay.
This is good timing. Okay, anything else to update us on? Yes.
I have some ideas I thought of just now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Getting the information to ASB at the high schools would also be really helpful, because they could then give it to, at least at Palm Springs High, we had like a news network that would put out videos every week to advertise there. And we also have Club Rush events every now and then. So even though it isn't technically a club, if we could have some kind of booth or student representative there, I think that would get the word out.
Excellent. Well, I wrote those notes down. Does that take care of us on subcommittee updates? Great. Now, Commissioner Ramaran, I think you have the two updates under item B.
Yes, thank you, Chair DeHart. For BA, Clean Indoor Air and Health Protection Draft Ordinance with Sustainability Commission update. It's currently with the Commission, so they will be addressing the approved draft that we forwarded to Sustainability on the July 20th meeting for Sustainability. That's directly from Commissioner Carl Baker. For item B and then letter B, a street naming update, Commissioner Shepherd and I have briefly met. We will be scheduling meetings regularly to address street naming after August 12th. And in the meantime, would like any recommendations from the commissioners and student representatives. Just to give you all, and again, welcome to the new commissioners. I want to just give you a quick history. The street renaming item was agendized during a July 13th, 2020 Human Rights Commission meeting last year. So we're just about a year into this sort of slowness, if you will. So there sort of gives you a really good example of how we need to sort of look at this one, the schedule in our commission meetings, as well as how fast we work or how slow we work. That was under item 9.4, renaming of streets, and the four names that were suggested at that Human Rights Commission were Martin Luther King Jr., Lawrence Crossley, Harvey Milk, and Barack Obama. As we all know, the city of Palm Springs historically has renamed Lawrence Crossley. So we're really, really excited about that. So we're looking at 3 other names to be considered for renaming. Again, Commissioner Shepherd and I are looking at this very, very intently. And we're both serving on the forthcoming Social Equity Committee. And we really see this as a larger, sort of part of that big picture around racial and social equity in our city. So just to give you that history, that's sort of the update for now. Again, we welcome the other commissioners and the student representatives to give us any idea of how to proceed. This is something that we have definitely are very excited to take on. Thank you.
Mhm. And for further clarification for our new commissioners, this item came out of City Council to the commission. So it's something that we're following up on a request from City Council. It's not something that came from the Human Rights Commission. It's in our service to the City Council. Excellent. I saw a hand, Commissioner Shepherd.
Just to further clarify a little bit for you, what input you might have. We know the people who we want to name the streets after, so the charge of Edwin and I and our group is to figure out what streets to name after those people. I was kind of scratching my head to try to figure out how it worked at first, but Edwin educated me today. So for example, we already have Rosa Parks in the Desert Highland area. We have Lawrence Crosley over in that area. And the question is, where would we want to have a Harvey Milk street name? And do we want it to be in the middle of kind of the gay neighborhood? Do we want the Martin Luther King and Barack Obama to be in the African-American communities? Or do we want them to be more on the city streets that everybody traverses every day, which is kind of what I think, but never mind that. So I would love it if anybody had an idea. I would love to see Sunrise named after Barack Obama or whatever. You may happen to pick a street to make a suggestion on that's already named after somebody, like Ramon Road, I believe is named after one of our Native American founders. So it may or may not work for that way, but if there's ideas you might have, as if you've driven around other cities and you go, why do they name this particular street this particular name? We want to find some meaningful names to the streets instead of just kind of a condescending stick a name on a street in a certain neighborhood. So that's what Edwin and I are striving for, and we would love your input.
Yeah. So Jay, what does planning department, who handles streets in the city?
It would start with planning department. I don't know if engineering has to be involved in any way, or facilities, because of the sign replacement, which is not a planning function, but impact wise, planning usually is the initiating department.
Yeah, okay. So my recommendation to the subcommittee is to set a meeting with planning and just do an exploratory meeting on potential streets upcoming or the ease of streets that don't have as much residential or business addresses along that street. Planning may be able to give some good guidance on in that arena, and then the other thing to look at is I think we're going to be very challenged because we're not growing the city and we don't have new development with new streets with very few exceptions that would be in the mainstream. So the thing to look at is dual naming and carrying two blade signs on a street, and look at what that possibility is to be able to do that. So that's something to explore with planning and traffic and others on the Postal Service. I'm sure may be another one to look at. To look at opportunity. Okay.
Do we have a name for that? Who the planning person is we should talk to?
Well, David Newell, RJ, do you have a better suggestion?
No, David Newell would be a great start.
Yeah.
David and I share my maiden name and his last name, so I'd be anxious to meet him.
Yeah, he'll do.
He might be my cousin.
He'll give you some good guidance if nothing else, coming out of that conversation. So that will be a good conversation to have.
Terrific. Thank you.
And to item A, Commissioner Ramadan, is there timing, is there a timeline set on that draft ordinance at sustainability?
Just that it will be addressed on the July 20th meeting for sustainability. That's the only thing I mentioned.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, excellent. Now we move on to item C. Jay, do we have any information on item C as to where our comments specifically may have impacted the new reversion or the new draft?
No, not on the new draft, and particularly because it is not yet complete. You may know that tomorrow there's another workshop on the general plan. And if anyone would like to participate, I can go on and put the registration information in the chat. What do we have here? We've got workshop registration, a flyer, and the draft housing element. I'll paste all of these into the chat. And again, the workshop is tomorrow for anyone who may have the time or availability. I hope this comes through.
I just ask a question of the chair.
Sure.
On this, and FYI, I'm already registered to attend that tomorrow. But I'm wondering where I would find the comments and suggestions that HRC submitted, so I can maybe come up to speed on that as I'm looking and participating in the workshop tomorrow.
Yep. We would happily send them to you. And between Jay and myself, we'll get that out to you. You know, one of us will have it more ready, handily, that we can send out to you. But yeah, that's an excellent thing to have. And maybe you can bring back a report to us.
Sure.
Where are you seeing some of our suggestions being included?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent.
Great. That'll be my reading material for tomorrow.
Yeah. We did a fairly thorough job on coming up with comments and suggestions. So I think it was one of the really nice things that the commission was able to contribute to, you know, in another department within the city this year. Was it this year? I don't even remember. Maybe it was early in the year, but some time ago we did that work.
Yeah, it might have been December, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, we'll get that out to you, and maybe we just resend it to everybody, Jay, just so everybody has a refresher, since it's something new and being discussed again from planning department. Okay. Next up, we're in item D already. To the new commissioners, don't think that the meetings go this smoothly all the time, or that we swiftly move to the agenda like this. But it's nice that we have a light agenda for your first meeting.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ramaran has a hand raised.
Oh, yeah. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Ramaran.
Thanks, Chair DeHart. Thanks, Jay. I just wanted to let you know that I was able to attend one of the meetings, which was held at Demuth Community Center. That was meeting number 2 on June 17th regarding the general plan and the visioning, and which is one of the things I want to sort of just point out here. Which there were about 4 meetings. There were 4 meetings that were actually scheduled. I was just concerned, one, as a commissioner, and also as someone who was reached by the Planning Commission, and I'm so glad that David Newell reached out to me, but on a community level, you know, not as a commissioner, just to be very you know, transparent. But I was concerned that the attendance at the Demuth Community Center, for instance, as well as the Spanish language one, I believe, on the 3rd meeting, were poorly attended. I think the James O. Jesse meeting, which was the 4th one on the 28th of June, was better attended. But I think our engagement on a community level, when we say, the city reaches out to folks in our community, that needs to be very wholeheartedly done. And I'm trying to really reconcile that as a commissioner and as a person in a community that was, in this particular situation, I was outreached as a person who's an organizer in the Filipino community here in the Demuth Park neighborhood Veterans Tract. So I want to just sort of address that. The PS General Plan is about the city, but when you do have these specific meetings, I would love to see that more outreach is done. I'm just going to give an example. I did serve on the California Voting Rights Act CVR8 committee, for instance, and also on the census. There was a lot of money in those committees. These are citywide committees. And I want to see how something like this, visioning, which has been going on for years, has that kind of outreach to the community. And I remember attending the visioning meetings at the convention center, which were very nice. But these smaller meetings, I'm feeling like they were tokenized, and I want to feel that folks are actually part of that plan. I'm just going to address that here, but again, like this, because this is an opportunity to sort of mention that. I just wanted to put that as a sort of point of information as a commissioner myself. I hope that was okay.
Sure. And I think anytime we can help give guidance to, in this particular case, the planning department, and on helping them with outreach, if we have a commissioner that would like to serve in that capacity in something, and this is being used as an example. But I think if we have the ability to provide that expertise that they may not have, so the planning department may not have had that expertise, and say if they had reached out and asked us to invite a commissioner to work with them, we would have been able to appoint you really early on to help them organize their outreach efforts, and some of the suggestions that you're making today, being able to share that with them and help them identify what those next steps should be for their work in the community. So excellent. Yeah. Thank you for attending, and Commissioner Vignola for you attending the next one. Okay, I don't see any other hands up, so we can move on to item D. And item D is conducted annually, typically in June of each year. We pick a chair and a vice chair of the commission, and the duties for both of those positions are really to provide a sense of leadership for overseeing and managing the commission itself, running the meetings, and being that point liaison to city council, city hall, and media. If there's ever an opportunity that we're speaking to the media, that spokesperson is the chair or vice chair of the commission. So they also oversee the executive committee, which helps to organize the meeting agendas with staff, and then brings that information to our staff liaison, and in this case, it's Jay and Annie for the Human Rights Commission. Jay, do you have anything else you'd like to add on what the chair and vice chair responsibilities are?
Yes, if there's ever those gray areas or difficult decisions in terms of moving something one way or the other, the chair gets to indicate how things might be presented. So, it's kind of half joking, but still there's influence from the chair in terms of items we agendize, and these are the issues in the community. So it's an important role.
So we will just open it up. It's a very informal process, like most of the commissions in town. We don't have a formal, super formal election process. So informally, folks that may be interested in either position can indicate by saying aye, or someone may nominate somebody else to serve in either position. But let's start with the vice chair selection. Is there any interest to serve in the vice chair position? Commissioner Shepherd, is that a nomination of somebody?
Myself.
All right.
I'm interested. I'm
We are-
interested if
We are
available.
certainly allowed to self-nominate. So Commissioner Shepherd has raised the hand to serve in that capacity. Any other interest?
I second that nomination, by the way.
That's conditional on your continuing the chair role, though. Did I mention that?
Well, all right. Well, we did get a second, even though I was waiting to see if there was other people interested. Now, Commissioner Shepherd, would you accept that nomination?
Yes, I would.
Okay. So now we'll move on to the chair role. Any interest in serving in the chair for the 21-22 year?
I nominate Rhonda Hart.
Second that nomination.
All right, excellent. And yes, I would accept that nomination. So very simple, all in favor of the slate, and raise your hand, nod your head. It looks like Jay, it looks like we've got it across the board unanimous. So thank you all, and thank you, Commissioner Shepherd, for stepping up. And you're filling some pretty big shoes with Commissioner Chappelle leaving us. So I hope she is watching tonight. I know she would be proud to know that the work is going to continue in good hands. So next up is, this is the opportunity in the meeting where our commissioners, staff, and our student representatives can share comments and notes of items of significance that are upcoming that you think would be worthy or worthwhile for the rest of the commission to hear. So do we have any comments from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Andrade, you're the first hand up.
Thank you. Couple things. First of all, welcome to the new commissioners. Look forward to meeting you all, serving with you. It's a noble commitment. Let me just say that. Secondly, I want to echo my thanks to Denise Chappelle for her service and the time on the commission, and just the person that she is. She's just a lovely person. It's been a pleasure to work with her and be represented by her. And then lastly, I know we tabled the homeless update, but I have offered the commission's assistance to both Mayor Holstage and to Jay if there's anything that we can do, if there's a role for us in either the cooling center operation, the short-term cooling, or the longer-term effort of opening the boxing club for homeless services. So I would like to be able to work a little bit closer with them. I really want to come back with some ideas that I have for commission. If anybody's interested in homeless services, please be thinking about that, because I think there is some work for us to do. So I just wanted to throw that out. Okay, thank you.
Jay, are you the right person that Commissioner Andrade should touch base with, just to make sure that she's on emails and meeting notifications?
That is correct. And Commissioner Andrade is on the email distribution list.
Okay, all right, excellent. So at least we know maybe if there's lack of action, but at least you're hearing when there is some action taking place. So that's important. Okay, any other comments or newsworthy items? Commissioner Ramaran, you're always good for one or two.
Thanks, Chair DeHart. And thank you, Chair DeHart, for taking on the chair position again. And congratulations, Vice Chair Shepard. It's been an honor to be work with all of you. Welcome, Commissioner Loyola, Commissioner Vignola, and Commissioner Robles. This is so exciting. And thank you, Commissioner Chappelle. I do have a couple things, and one in particular, and those are some of the ones, but I didn't want to be remiss as a commissioner to not address the larger conversation that had happened over the past couple of months around the Marilyn Monroe statue downtown. I know that we did receive some correspondence around it. I know the statue is up. I know that it's sort of what it is now, and I just want to just vocally address that I did oppose the Marilyn Monroe statue personally, and I just wanted to say that here. And I also wanted to just also stress that there was I've been seeing the advertisements on television from PS Resorts that sort of like, stresses the sort of percentage of folks that were surveyed that support the Marilyn Monroe statue, and sort of marginalizes the minority sort of response to it. And I want to really address that, I don't think that's acceptable. So I just want to stress that here as sort of a commissioner comment, because I think this is where we need to look at this. We're going to look at the Frank Bogart statue and Section 14. We do have to look at the history of misogyny and what that represents in the sort of curatorial decisions that are happening downtown, for instance, or anywhere in the city. I'm saying this as someone who does oppose that statue, as also someone who comes from art history and looks at that as just bad art. So that's just my opinion here. I want to stress that because I don't want to think that our commission even addressed it in any way. But I know that this is probably the only avenue that we have, since the statue is already up and it's going to be up for a while. So I appreciate you taking my word for it this evening. But I'm so excited to be, again, serving with all of you here. Thank you.
And I can share some information on that. It was an item that came to us in public comment through written correspondence, I believe, asking that the commission, take the item up. And when that came to us, City Council had already acted. So it became a non-item at that time for the commission on the council actions. Overrule our actions. We're in service to the council. Now, if we would have put it, addressed it early on, and if we were asked to address it by City Council, we could have provided some opinion or guidance to City Council before their action. So, it's just in this situation, it did come to us, and I do believe it was written comment. And then we did address it. I brought it up at the next commission meeting as to why it would not be something that we would agendize since council had already acted on it. But certainly in the future, and that was this item, Commissioner Ramaran. But the issue of misogyny, the issue of the Me Too movement, and the issue of continuing to address the impact in the community, positive and negative, that certainly is within our realm as we move forward, for sure. Okay, any other comments that folks would like to make? Oh yes, Commissioner Vignola.
Thank you, Chair DeHart. I'm excited to join the commission. I look forward to working with all the other commissioners, with the chair and the new vice chair. I just had a couple of questions. Hopefully this is the right point in the meeting to ask them. And then one observation. The committee assignments, do you want us to communicate our desired committee assignments to you in advance of the next meeting, or do we have to wait till September to become engaged in those committees? I'm just kind of
No, I think
asking for direction.
Yeah, so everybody is welcome to send their intentions to Jay, and feel free to do that at your earliest convenience. And we can sort through that. And if there's overwhelming interest on your part to be involved in something that's on time is of the essence, we can certainly address that between now and September. So
okay,
if there's,
are there any parameters on, like, is there a limit on the number of committees you can participate on, or how have you done that in the past?
Well, I would jump on one or two until you get your hands, your feet in, then you can see what that impact is and what does it mean from a time standpoint and your ability to fully contribute. Some of the committees don't take much time at all, and other committees certainly can take a tremendous amount of time, depending on what is on their agenda. So I think we should welcome you to express your interest of 2 or 3 right now that are really something that you would like to be involved in, and get it to Jay, and then we can sort through that.
Okay. And is there, Jay, do you have a roster of committee?
It's on page 9 in today's packet.
No, I know the committees, but do you have a list of who is on each committee and who's the committee chair, or is that?
In the agenda, the committee commissioners' names in parentheses.
Oh, okay. So that's the entire committee.
Yeah. So and it's as formal or as informal as the committee wants it to be. So there's no guidelines toward that end. You can set the parameters and guidelines. The committee can invite community members to serve on your committee. They're not voting members of the commission, and they're not commissioners, but they certainly can be contributors to your subcommittee and bring expertise and guidance to the work that you're doing. But that would be something that comes from the committee would make those decisions. And sometimes they are committees of 1, and other times there's committees of 2 or 3. I think 3 is our max. Is that right, Jay?
Well, we have 9 commissioners. We would just want to avoid a quorum on any of these. So
maybe 4 could be the max if we just want to play it safe. Okay. Commissioner Shepherd.
I think I heard Commissioner Andrade mention a name tag. Do you have a human rights commissioner name tag that identifies you when you go to community meetings, or do
So
we?
who doesn't have one? Raise your hand if you don't have one. So Commissioner Flood and Andrade. So the last time we ordered them was when you entered service. So Jay did. So it looks like Commissioner Andrade, Flood, and DeHart have name tags, and we got to get them for everybody else, including Representative Lilly. Okay.
Nope.
Excellent. Okay, so what?
I just had one other.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think our next meeting, based on the agenda, is September.
Yeah.
And I know that that's September 13. I think on September 15 is the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm not sure why it would be in the middle of the month, but is there anything we can do between now and the September to recognize the Hispanic Heritage Month? Does that fall under Cultural Affairs Committee, or I'm not sure if there's a process for doing that?
I'm looking up the slate that we have just to see if that is already on our so October, oh no, September you said, sorry. No, we don't have it listed for September. So that could be an item that we could add to the agenda if that is desired by the commission today. For some reason, we don't have any September. I didn't notice that before now. So we'll come back to that before we adjourn, David.
Okay.
At the beginning of the meeting, I said we would have a few minutes, give everybody a few minutes just to introduce themselves as new commissioners. If just really briefly, just share, a little bit of yourself and your desire to be on the commission, just so we can have a little bit better feel for who's coming to the table. So Commissioner Robles, would you like to start us off with a soft introduction?
Sure thing. I was not born here. I was actually born in Orange County, but I was raised in Palm Springs. I've lived here my entire life. I graduated. I got my bachelor's out here at Cal State San Bernardino in Palm Desert in communications. I currently work in digital marketing, but I wanted to join the commission because I have always been attracted to public service, but it's almost like you need to take that first step or like that first push to do it. And I think I finally was like, you know what, it's time to do it. Like, just might as well jump in, get your feet wet and see how it goes. And that's how I ended up here.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Loyola.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you everyone for the warm welcome. My name is Hugo Loyola. I was born and raised in Mexico City, and I came to this country in my early 20s because my company had merged, and through that acquisition, I had the opportunity to become a marketing manager for them based out of New York. I became a U.S. citizen in 2007, which was awesome for me after a long and very painful process. In 2014, my spouse and I decided to leave New York to come to live in the beautiful Palm Springs area. And I was able to do and run my small publishing business out of pretty much anywhere. So this was the place we both chose to live in. Since 2020, in early January, I had an invitation to become a bilingual business consultant for the Small Business Development Center out in Coachella Valley, which I've been serving, obviously with great pleasure. And later on to join the Orange County SBDC as well, helping them with everything digital marketing. It's been a great pleasure to serve as small business owners for the last couple of years. And this has really prompted me to instigate other opportunities to serve our communities. Living in Palm Springs, being a full-time resident, being part of the LGBTQ community, all of those things kind of was a perfect storm for me. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I look forward to engaging with you further. Thank you.
Excellent. And now we're on Commissioner Vignola.
Thank you. I am excited to be part of the commission. I moved here with my husband about 3 years ago, so I'm a relatively newcomer to the Palm Springs area. We relocated from Washington, D.C., where I worked for over 26 years with the United States Senate. I was involved in the LGBTQ community there, and I was chairperson of the Committee on Hate Violence, which was the equivalent to this commission in Montgomery County, Maryland, where my husband and I resided for 19 years. So that, when I moved here, I wanted to get involved in public service within Palm Springs. We're both retired. And I started by getting involved with the 1PS organization of Palm Springs in District 5 in the south part of Palm Springs. And so this seemed like a very perfect fit for me to get involved with the Human Rights Commission. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you and on many of the commission's work that lies ahead. So thank you again, and excited to be part of the commission.
Yes, excellent. And at our next meeting, we'll have Commissioner Cleary give us a little introduction so we all can come up to speed, on his background. Let's see, agenda items. So now we're on item 12. This is the time that we can bring up items that would like to see or would like to consider to be on the agenda for our next meeting. And Commissioner Vignola already brought one up that we will look at, and that is the Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have that item. Are there any other items that we'd like to bring forward for the agenda?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask if it qualifies as agenda items for the next meeting, but I will be moving to Los Angeles on September, I think 15th or between 19th, between those days. So will I be able to continue attending these meetings from there? And when does my term end?
Are you going to school, Ella?
Yeah, I'm going to UCLA.
Yeah. So let us get back to you. You know, I think your residence is still in Palm Springs. Yes. So I would suspect that you're still able to serve, and they are annual terms. So the vice chair now, Commissioner Shepherd, has that committee assignment for the Youth Affairs Committee. So the two of you will be able to coordinate that. But I suspect your residence is still in Palm Springs. You're a student. You still qualify to serve if that is your desire. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything? We'll make sure we'll get that clarified for you though to make sure. Okay. Anything else for the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, I just had I don't know if this goes on the agenda, but given that our next meeting is September, would it be appropriate to discuss on the agenda plans for the Human Rights Commission's participation with LGBTQ pride events that are going to be the very beginning of November? And secondly, does the Human Rights Commission have any presence at the Village Fest downtown as part of community outreach and education?
Yeah. So
that's something we want to explore, if not.
Sure. Two good questions. The first one, you can touch base with Commissioner Ramaran. He oversees that type of community engagement for Pride, and I think he already does have a call out for commissioners to participate in the Pride Parade, right, Commissioner Ramaran? Yeah. So you know, touch base with him, make your commitment there, and if you've got other ideas, we certainly can explore those, or you and Commissioner Ramaran can explore those. I don't think there's anybody else on that committee, is there?
Student representative.
Cash?
No.
Lily, Hannah? Okay.
Hannah.
Yeah, so, okay, so that was the first question. And the second question, Village Fest. We have not had a presence in Village Fest for not just my memory, but any memory going back and quite far. And in part, I suspect that is the commitment. It's a big commitment, but that's certainly something that the committee can address. And that's another item you could you know, just chat with Commissioner Ramaran about. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Andrade.
I don't know if this is an appropriate place for it either, but has there been an orientation for the new commissioners, or is there one scheduled?
Yeah, they just got sworn. They haven't been, they just barely were sworn in, Commissioner Andrade. So no, there hasn't been any orientation from the commission's standpoint. I believe 3 of them were just sworn in like within the days.
Right.
Yes. So we now will take that process and I'll reach out with them to do a sit down and orientation, you know, to bring them up to speed on the core issues that are in our the older commissions. We used to get a thumb drive. The new commissioners, you know, your homework is going to be the files and documents on the City of Palm Springs website, Human Rights Commission page. If you scroll all the way down to the page, our nuts and bolts documents are there. You would want to pay particular attention to the rules and procedures, you know, document, and the standing committees, which we pulled out and put in today's packet. But those are two really primary documents for us to really get our arms around. And then we will schedule an orientation meeting sometime soon. We'll get a date that works for everybody, and we'll walk through the general workings of the commission and address some of the things that really discourage new commissioners, and we forewarn you, the pace of justice is not fast, and the pace of work within the city is not necessarily fast either, and that's very discouraging for sometimes for new commissioners. And it's just sometimes the pace at which things get done is not the pace which we would desire. So we figure out how we can work within that system, once we'll get a date set soon. But in the meantime, you could be doing the homework just by reviewing those documents online. And I believe that folder is up to date. I don't know if we're missing anything in there. And normally you would have gotten, like I said, a little thumb drive that would have had all these documents on it. And before you got the thumb drive, this is what you got. You can barely see it, it's barely being made out. But we got a 4-inch binder that has had all the information on in the olden days. So yes, very good point. We'll get those going.
I wanted to ask or state if there's any value in another commissioner attending, if you see any point in the commissioner, that's been on for a little while being available for questions or perspective. I'm happy to participate in that.
Yep, excellent. So I'll work with Jay on that, and we'll see how we can make sure that we can do that within Brown Act guidelines and such. All right, we're at 6:52. Turned out to be a longer meeting than we had started out. Any other agenda items that we need to consider, or questions?
I think there's a question in the chat about in-person meetings versus Zoom meetings.
Oh, let me see. Thank you for paying attention to that. I didn't see that. How much longer? Mark, I believe we know we're going through the fall with Zoom, and we will await guidance from City Council on when those in-person meetings will happen. But we can certainly expect that the next 2-3 meetings are certainly going to be on Zoom still. Yeah, and that's right, Jay? That's what your understanding is?
Well, we get to fall, Mr. Chair. There's discussions about how we can do hybrids. It's just technology-wise, it's difficult for the city to facilitate that.
Yeah,
it kind of has to be all Zoom or all in person, unless we have somebody filming, managing the Zoom video, and the meeting that's taking place is also being filmed. So, our staff's working through that, but we don't have any solid conclusions now, particularly since, reports of a COVID variant now coming out, and, I'm assuming folks get their vaccines as needed, but, we really don't know what the future has, so.
And Mark has a question in chat. When will the Brown Act require in-person meetings? I'm not sure that the Brown Act, that's a trigger in the Brown Act. We don't meet outside of Zoom, Mark. So commission business does not get conducted unless it is posted publicly on the meeting time, and we don't communicate with one another until we get into this Zoom environment with a regularly scheduled meeting. Now, committee work continues to go on, but committee work is typically done by 2 commissioners, on a committee at any one time. So there's not formal decisions being made, at the committee level. and there's not, more than the 4 or so commissioners in those committee meetings. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our meeting, 6:55 p.m. on Monday, July 12th. The commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting Monday, September 13, 2021. Thank you all for being with us tonight, and for our guests that stuck through the entire meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Adios.